There was a point in time where if I was going through anything uncomfortable in life, that I had to find some type of external force, to deal with it. Like I had to, get a drink, or I had to be around people. I couldn't sit with my thoughts. I couldn't sit with myself. Because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle the emotions that was coming to me, one after another, one after another. Like I couldn't process it, and it was hard for me to just be quiet, within my own mind. And I always had to, suppress it with alcohol or meaningless friendships or relationships. Like it's almost like I didn't like myself. I didn't like what I was thinking. I didn't like the things I was saying about myself. But then as I got older, I realized I'm not thinking what I'm thinking, you know, for no reason. Some of the thoughts I'm thinking is, reflecting on, what I did wrong or what I could have did better, and it just healing myself from within. And I wasn't ready to take accountability. I wasn't ready to face my problems head on. I was ready to blame everybody else but me. But as I, try to improve my, emotional maturity, I realized, you know, sober isolation is one of the best healings, you could do for yourself. And it was one of the hardest things I had to do, to be isolated and sober with your thoughts. And you just have to sit there and deal with it. And whatever comes to you, you have to analyze it. And, just you're aware of it, then you just let it pass. And everything, it just comes and you just let it pass. And I realized it actually made me a better person. It made me be able to sit with myself. I no longer need to be intoxicated. I no longer need to suppress, what I'm going through. Like I say, it doesn't feel the best, but once you get through it, once you're strong enough to get through it, is one of the greatest things ever. You learn so much about yourself. You learn to take accountability. You learn that sometimes you was in the wrong. You learn that, okay, that's what I could do better next time. Like nobody takes the time to sit with their thoughts. And nobody truly likes themselves. Nobody truly, want to take accountability for things they've done. And not necessarily everything you've done is, your fault. But any hardship in life, you know, sometimes it's best that you just, find a quiet place, in your room, out in nature, no distractions, no phone, no social media, no friends, no families, just you and yourself. You, yourself, and your thoughts. And you sit back and just, you know, reflect, reflect. Like nowadays, life moves so fast. Life is constantly moving. You're always on to the next thing. You don't even have time to, process what happened to you. Like it's a processing thing. That's why people are walking around this world so emotional, immature, because they didn't have time to process the trauma they had, last year or when they were in their childhood. They're still carrying that because they never processed it, and they're afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to be themselves. Like they're afraid. Everybody nowadays has an image on, has a facade, has a, well, I'm supposed to be this way. No, you're not supposed to be this. You're supposed to be you. You're supposed to be you. You're you for a reason. But no, people have to process their thoughts, man. Like just sit down, and you're having a bad day, sit down and let the thoughts come. Don't try to push them away. Don't try to suppress it. Let it come. You're thinking this way for a reason. Whatever you're thinking that way for a reason. You need to find the root cause. And for you to find the root cause, you need some time alone. You need some time to yourself. That's why you ever notice people, people on the streets, they're crazy on the streets, wild in the streets, doing whatever they're doing, causing whatever havoc they're causing. And once they get locked up and they spend those years in a cell to themselves in solitary confinement and don't have nothing else but their thoughts, they start to reflect. They start to reflect on their actions. They start to reflect on, their past trauma. They start to reflect and they start to process and they start to heal. They start the healing process. That's why a lot of people come out a changed person. And now that's not everybody, but a lot do. But you don't have to, be incarcerated to change. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, you could do this. You could start this now. You could be a better person now. And all it does is takes a little patience. Like I said, it's not easy. It's not easy, trying to change. It's not easy, trying to be a better person. It's not easy sitting with your thoughts. It's not easy having your mind telling you you're in the wrong. It's not easy, going through a breakup and dealing with those emotions head on. It's not easy going through a divorce and dealing with those emotions head on. It's not easy, losing a family member, losing a friend, and dealing with everything head on. It's not easy doing it, and people need some type of coping mechanisms just to get through it. But I promise you, once you go sober, isolation, like it's the hardest things in the world. But once you stick it, once you get it, come on, it makes you feel so much better because you have so much more understanding of what's going on. But like I say, I don't use isolation as a tool to, hurt yourself or, separate you from the rest of the world. But sometimes you do need time to get to know yourself better. You do need time to process you. So you don't have to push away all your family and friends, but you do need a certain amount of time to process what's going on in your life. Because life moves so fast. Life is constantly moving. Life doesn't slow down for anybody, and nobody really has the time to be, think about what's going on in their life. Think about them and think about what they want to pursue and think about how did this situation make them feel, or think about their past and their childhood and realize how it sculpted them into the person he is today. But like I said, it's a wonderful thing, and I would recommend it. So if you're going through something, you don't need a cope. You don't need a cope. Just, like I said, find a peaceful spot and spend at least 15 minutes by yourself. No distractions, and just let everything flow. Then you could pinpoint why you think this, why you feel this. And like I said, it's not easy, but it is worth it. It's definitely worth it. So I thank y'all, and I appreciate y'all for listening. Thank you.